Have you ever wondered what could ruin your dream trip to Italy? Today, we're diving into the top 10 things not to do in Italy. Welcome back to the Trip Raider, your no-nonsense travel channel. I'm Steve, a travel insider who explores the world with my wife, Lucen, and we've learned a thing or two about navigating different cultures. From common mistakes that tourists make to surprising blunders that can turn your vacation upside down, this guide will ensure you experience the beauty of Italy without the pitfalls. So, if you want to avoid the blunders that could leave you feeling like a fish out of water, stay tuned. Number 10. Don't ignore Italian etiquette. When in Italy, politeness is key. One of the quickest ways to come off as rude is by not greeting people in shops, restaurants, or cafes. A simple buongiorno in the morning or buonasera in the evening goes a long way. I learned this on my first trip to Florence when I entered a small cafe without saying a word. The barista's reaction made me realize that in Italy, you can't skip the pleasantries. It's a small effort but makes a huge difference in how locals perceive you. Number 9. Don't assume trains run on time. Italy's train system is fantastic for getting around, but it's not always punctual. While high-speed trains like the Frecciarassa are mostly on time, regional trains can be delayed. If you're planning a tight schedule, build in some buffer time for possible delays. On one of my trips, I was nearly late for a tour of the Vatican because of a 30-minute train delay. Lesson learned: always check the train schedule and don't plan anything too tightly around public transportation. Number 8. Don't skip the train ticket validation. Here's one that many first-timers miss. In Italy, before boarding a train, you need to validate your ticket at the little machines on the platform. If you don't, you could face a fine. I remember being on a train from Milan to Lake Como when I realized I hadn't validated my ticket. The inspector fined me, and that's money I would have rather spent on an extra gelato. So make sure you stamp your ticket before hopping on board. Number 7. Don't expect businesses to be open during siesta. In many Italian towns and cities, especially in smaller places, businesses shut down for a few hours in the afternoon. This isn't the case in the major tourist hubs like Rome or Milan, but in places like Siena or Pisa, don't be surprised if shops close between 1 p.m. and 4 p.m. It's a great time to relax, grab a coffee, or enjoy a long lunch. But if you're planning on shopping or running errands, make sure you do it before or after siesta time. Number 6. Don't overestimate the tipping culture. Unlike the US, tipping in Italy is not expected in the same way. If you leave a tip, it's generally a small one, maybe rounding up the bill or leaving an extra euro or two. It's more common to leave a bit of change after a meal than to tip a percentage of the bill. I've seen people try to tip 15 to 20%, and while it's appreciated, it's not necessary. Save that extra cash for an additional glass of wine or dessert. Number 5. Don't assume English is spoken everywhere. While many Italians in the big cities and touristy areas speak some English, this isn't the case everywhere. In smaller towns, you'll find locals who may not speak English at all. Learning a few basic Italian phrases will help immensely. I remember getting lost in Bologna, and the directions from a local only made sense because I could understand a little Italian. Knowing how to ask for directions or order food will make your experience much smoother. Number 4. Don't eat at tourist traps. This is crucial. Italy has some of the best food in the world, but the most overpriced, underwhelming meals often come from restaurants right next to major tourist attractions. I made this mistake in Venice, sitting down at a restaurant near Piazza San Marco only to be served an underseasoned, overpriced plate of spaghetti. Instead, walk a few streets away from tourist spots, and you'll find family-run trattorias serving authentic Italian dishes at half the price. Number 3. Don't dress like a tourist. While Italians are generally forgiving, you'll stand out and possibly attract unwanted attention if you dress like a stereotypical tourist, fanny packs, shorts, and baseball caps included. Italians tend to dress stylishly, even for casual outings. I'm not saying you need to bring your best designer clothes, but leaving the obvious tourist gear at home and blending in a little with local fashion will make your trip smoother, especially in less touristy areas. Number 2. Don't expect fast service at restaurants. Eating in Italy is meant to be a relaxed, drawn-out experience. Don't go to a restaurant expecting a quick bite and fast service. In fact, servers will usually wait until you ask for the check before bringing it. I've had dinners in Italy that lasted 3 hours, and that's completely normal. So take your time, enjoy the meal, and don't be in a rush. It's part of the charm of Italian dining. Number 1. Don't visit Italy without exploring the countryside. Many visitors flock to the famous cities, Rome, Florence, Venice, and while they're incredible, don't miss out on the beauty of the Italian countryside. Tuscany, Umbria, and Puglia offer stunning landscapes, charming villages, and some of the best food and wine in the world. Renting a car and driving through the rolling hills of Tuscany was one of the highlights of my trip. It's a totally different experience than the hustle and bustle of the big cities, and it shows you a quieter, more authentic side of Italy. Looking for even more tips? Here are a few bonus ones just for you. When visiting Italy, don't assume you can use credit cards everywhere. In smaller towns and villages, cash is king, so make sure to carry some euros with you. Also, don't overplan every second of your trip. Leave room for spontaneity. Some of the best experiences in Italy happen when you wander without an itinerary, whether it's stumbling across a hidden trattoria or discovering a quiet piazza away from the crowds. That's it for today's video. If you found these tips helpful, make sure to like, comment, and subscribe to the Trip Raider, your go-to travel channel for honest, practical advice with a twist. Safe travels, and see you in the next adventure.